The very first time that I ever had a guy ask me to coach him to pick up girls, we found a girl to go home with him. This was a guy who had never kissed a girl before in his life, let alone taken a girl home. Today in this video, I'm going to lay out the 7 steps that we followed to get a girl going home with him that night that you can use to get girls going home with you. Hi, I'm Jason Monte, and after coaching thousands of students, I still remember that first guy that I worked with. This guy hit me up out of the blue, offering me $500 to take him out on the scene. I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. He was like, take me out for one night and show me how to do what you do. And I wasn't exactly an expert at this point. I was getting some success. I was picking up girls, but I was looking around. I was like, am I really the guy? Am I coach material? I don't know. I figured it was at least worth a test. And then I would just take everything I learned to do at that point, package it together, and try and put it together in as awesome a training session as I could for this guy. And it ended up going really well. We got him talking to a variety of girls. We got him doing stuff he'd never done with women before. And we ended up having him take home a girl at the end of the night. He didn't end up closing the girl because he didn't know what he was doing, but this girl made it really easy for him. And if he'd just been a little bit more experienced, then he would have had his first one that night as well. Now, this guy was a kissless virgin who never had a girl at his place before. And if you're imagining that he must have looked like a Chad, he's about the furthest thing you could possibly imagine from that. And this guy was a bald Indian computer programmer, a little bit on the short side, with a beer belly, even though he didn't drink beer, in his late 20s. And he was a very, very shy guy. So now you may be asking yourself, how the heck did I get a girl to go home with this guy? And was she actually into him? And she was. I'm going to lay out the steps that we followed for you today in this video. So the first step we followed was that I took him to a proven venue. Now this is one of the advantages of having a guy that's been on the scene, going out a lot in a specific town. And in my case, I'd been living in DC at that point for a year. And I hit up all these different venues. I'd gone to all kinds of places all over the city. And I had found the venues that I found were the easiest ones to meet girls at and pull them home. So I took him to a selection of venues that I already knew were good and I knew were going to have girls that were going to be signaling. That way we'd have the highest odds possible of finding some girls that would hook and get them into good conversations so we could really push things further in the training session and allow them to do more than just open girls and get rejected. This is very important to do. It takes a lot of exploration to find these venues. My recommendation is if you're going out, no matter whether you're doing day game or night game, you're exploring a couple of new venues at least per month. Ideally, you're hitting up a couple new venues every week because that's how you figure out the places that you're looking for. And really what you're looking for, you're looking at the crowd, how old are the women there? Are they the age range you like? What kind are they like? There's different types of women. Does this venue seem to attract the kinds of women that you like or not? What's the turnover like? How frequently do people refresh? If you go there multiple times, do you keep seeing the same people over and over again? Or do you see new people every time that you go? That's great if you do. And also you should pay attention to what the venue is like over time. If you go during the day, what are the best times to go there? If you're there at night, how is it early on versus in the middle of the night versus late at night? In this student's case, we picked up a girl there at the end of the night. And sometimes this is the best time to pull because you have girls that have been talking to guys all night. They were hoping something was going to happen. It didn't work out for whatever reason. The guy left. He was too scared to make a move himself. And now the girl's there all by herself. She's kind of been ramped up. Nothing's going on. She's waiting for something to happen. And suddenly she's available again. Well, you're there to pick up the pieces. The second thing that I did when I took him out was to be hunting for approach invitations. Now, you don't need approach invitations, and especially when you're starting out, you should not be relying on these at all. You should just be doing a lot of approaching because you're going to need to figure out over time what signals women are putting out are reliable signals versus which are not. However, when you are looking for these approach invitations or approach solicitations, which is what they're called in the scientific literature, these are signals that women are putting out to signal to men their availability. And women who want to meet a guy will be putting out a lot of these. They'll be doing things like flipping their hair or making repeated glances at you, looking on the side of their eyes. They're going to be hovering around you. They're going to be showing you these different signs that they're available and they want to talk to somebody. Now, I was spotting approach invitations and sending this student in to talk to different girls all night. He wasn't able to see any of them at all. We'd walk into a place and I would say to him, okay, which girls look like they want to meet someone? And he would have no idea. He wouldn't be able to point out any. And I'd say, okay, that girl over there wants to meet somebody. Go talk to her right now. And he'd say, well, how can you tell? And I'd say, well, she's doing this, she's doing that. The girl that he ended up picking up was a girl that we saw standing out alone on a catwalk by herself, dancing by herself, kind of looking around. So to me, that's a ton of very obvious signals that this girl wants to meet somebody. When I pointed her out to the student, he took a look at her and said, well, maybe she just wants to be by herself. She just wants to be alone. And I said, no, it's late at night. It's a nightclub. She doesn't want to be by herself. She's advertising herself. That's why she picked this position. That's why she's doing what she's doing. She wants someone to approach her. I sent him over. She was very happy to meet him. How did I know that she wanted to meet somebody and not that she just wanted to be by herself, like what he thought? Well, I'd been going to bars and nightclubs for about a year and a half at that point. I'd approached tons of girls in all kinds of situations, and I was constantly testing my intuitions and suppositions. Or I'd say to a girl and say, I'll bet that girl wants to be approached. And then I go approach and find out if I'm right or wrong. And what you'll find is sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong. This is the only way to develop that intuition. I found time and again when I take guys out, even some pretty experienced guys, a lot of them aren't good at reading signals because they haven't been testing their intuition and approaching all these different girls and asking themselves before they approach, do I think this girl's going to be open or not? When am I recognizing? What signs am I seeing? You can make yourself very attuned to this if you're doing that. The third thing that I had him doing was approaching girls with an indirect opener. Every guy that I see that's doing Riz game right now is using direct openers. They're all using the same exact opener. They're walking up to girls and they're saying, excuse me, but you're really beautiful. And then they either give their name or they ask for a phone number. This is extremely repetitive. It's extremely generic. The girl just feels like she's being put on the spot right away. If you use something indirect, you can get around that. It's a lot lower pressure and it's definitely a lot better for beginners. And in my opinion, better for guys that are more advanced too. There's a lot of advantages to direct game, and direct game can work particularly well. Because I mean, here's the thing, if you're saying the same thing as every other guy, it's gonna flop. She's heard it a bunch of times, it sounds insincere. She doesn't want to hear the same thing parroted at her that every other guy is also parroting. You can use anything as an indirect opener, just something about the situation is fine. Like, I don't remember exactly what he used for this girl, but he could have just walked up to her with like, oh, I love dancing on catwalks too. That's fine. Just something to get the conversation started. It can be something totally harmless. It can be something innocuous. It doesn't matter. You just need to get yourself talking to the girl. The fourth thing I had him do was move girls within 2 to 3 minutes after the approach. This is very important. It gets them to commit to the interaction in ways that nothing else will. When we first started the night out, I had him just focus on initial conversation, doing some flirtation, things like that. But once he was comfortable doing that, then every single girl I talked to, I told him, get this girl to move with you within 2 to 3 minutes of conversation. So he'd go up, he'd talk to her, girl, banter back and forth for a little bit, we'll have some even just boring conversation. But after 2 or 3 minutes, he'd say, hey, let's move over a few feet so we don't get run over. Let's move over to this place. In the case of this girl, he had her move to the bar with him. So they moved off the catwalk over to the bar. I forget if they ordered drinks or not, but they just moved over there to change to a different position. And what this does is she is psychologically committing to this interaction with you because she's not going to move with a guy that she doesn't agree that she's going to keep talking to. By moving with you, she's implicitly saying, okay, yes, I will continue talking with you. I want to keep talking with you. I will agree to move with you. It's very important. It's a key psychological milestone after the open. Just make sure that you do that and you'll put yourself in a much better position for the stuff that is to come. Now, the fifth thing that I had him do was that after he moved a girl, I told him you need to sit with her within 5 to 10 minutes of conversation. So 2 to 3 minutes in, he moved her to the bar. Within, I think, about 7 or 8 minutes, he moved her over to sitting down on some couches that were a little ways over from the bar. And the reason that you're doing this is, again, you're getting her to further commit to the interaction with you. So he's moved her once, and then he moved her again. Now they're sitting down somewhere together. Now you can be next to each other. You can have your leg touching her leg, which creates some more touch, gives some more intimacy. And it's a much more of a chilled out vibe when the two of you are sitting and talking. If you're standing, at any time, she can just turn around and walk away. And she's aware that, well, you could turn around and walk away. But once you're sitting, it's much more of a commitment to, okay, we're sitting together, now we're going to seriously have this conversation. It's much easier to have deep, meaningful conversation once you're seated as well, just because, again, of that psychological component. So this is something that you want to do if you meet a girl standing up. In particular, get her seated with you 5 to 10 minutes after the approach. The next instruction I gave him was that he was going to change venues with her 30 to 90 minutes after the approach. Now, if I remember right, this was actually the first girl that he got to sit down with him, so I did tell him I wish you'd get her sit with you, and then if she sits with you, then 30 to 90 minutes, you're to pull her to some other place, a venue, diner where you can eat. And in this girl's case, we met her about 40 minutes before the nightclub closed. So they were sitting down and I just kept an eye on them and kind of wandered about. And, I don't want to be too conspicuous because I'm trying to monitor them and make sure that they're doing the right things. And he's continuing the conversation. She's still into it. So after 40 minutes, the lights came on. I went on over, I met up with the student and his girl, and I was happy to hear that he'd already proposed that they could go grab some food outside. So the three of us went down, we went over to a diner, we sat down at this diner, we ordered some food, and we're all just sitting there talking and getting to know each other a little bit better. Now, before I tell you about the last step and what happened at the diner and how you got this girl back to his place, first I want to tell you how you can get my best stuff tailored to you, and that would be to take my next step quiz. Now, in particular, if you've got a girl that you've got your eye on, but you're not sure what to do with her next, or if you just want to get better with girls in general, this quiz will ask you a few questions, and assess what your next step should be, what you need to do with this girl to get things moving with her, or with girls in general if you're just looking to build the skill. Just click on the link in the description below, complete the quick quiz, and I'll give you my personal recommendation for what to do next to get things moving with this girl or with girls in general. Finally, the last step with the girl is, drumroll, invite her home. Did you guess that one? Yes, that's the one. That's what we're doing. So you're going to invite her home. And of course, at this point, the student had never done that before. He was probably pretty nervous. The girl obviously liked him. She was sitting right next to him. I could tell that she's into him. On our walk to the diner, I had pulled him aside for a second and I let him know that, okay, what we're going to do is he's going to invite a girl back to his place and I can help him with seating that if he had trouble seating it. And once he got her back there, then the rule was he was going to kiss her within 10 minutes of getting her back to his place. Because they'd already done so much build up outside, just needs to get her comfortable, then make the kiss, and then I trust him to take it from there. So once we got to the diner, we all sat, kind of bantered back and forth for a little bit. And then at a certain point, I checked my watch and I said, I gotta hit the road, but you two crazy kids, maybe you head back and watch a movie. So I helped him out here because he had never done it before. And I proposed it. She got excited right away. And once with her excitement, he had his boost of confidence and he said, yeah, I'll take her back and put something on. So I left. I heard from him the next day that he did indeed take her home. And he got her back, and he did kiss her within 10 minutes. But she told him she was hoping she didn't want to hook up tonight because she'd been hooking up too much, too fast recently. So she was trying to slow it down. And, a more experienced guy would know that that's pretty much about as green a light as you can get. You just reassure her a little bit and let her know that, you're not going to judge her or whatever. And then just get her turned on, and then things will happen because obviously that's what she's been doing. That's what she's into. In his case, he took it very literally and then he just backed way off and they ended up talking for about 4 hours before he sent her home. And I didn't hear from him after that. So I don't know if he followed up with the girl, but he was pretty over the moon with how it went. It was a pretty successful night out for him, from being a guy who had never gone out to approach ever before in his life, a guy who never kissed a girl, to having to go back at his place the first time he went out. And he's making out with her, and he could have closed the deal with her if he knew a little bit more about what to do. And I feel bad that I didn't coach him on handling resistance. I didn't know that we would get to that point, honestly. He did pretty well. Anyway, to wrap up, here are the 7 steps that we went through that allowed him to pick up a girl that night, despite never having gone out before, and that you can replicate when you go out to pick up girls. The first one is that we went to a proven venue. And you may have to do some scouting around to figure this out. But if you got any buddies that are in the game, you might be able to ask them for recommendations and get a good one from them. The next is that we hunted for signs of receptiveness. And this is things like girls that are flipping their hair, girls that are looking around, girls that are hovering around near you, girls that are standing off by themselves, obviously trying to attract attention to themselves. Saying, somebody come meet me, come on, pick me. Our third item was to use an indirect opener, just something about the situation, just to get the conversation started in a low-pressure way. Our fourth item was to move her within 2 to 3 minutes, and it doesn't have to be a big move. It can just be a few feet over. It's just to get her to psychologically commit to continuing the interaction with you. Number 5 is to sit with her within 5 to 10 minutes, and by sitting down with her, again, that's another psychological milestone. She's committing even deeper to this interaction, and she's also opening herself up to deeper conversation where you can connect with her a lot more because she's now in this more seated, settled position where she's just there with you, very one-on-one, and she's not in a position where she's going to feel like she can just easily walk away or you can just easily walk away. It's a committed interaction. Step number 6 is that you want to change venues with her within 30 to 90 minutes, and that kind of goes based on your feel of how things are going. You don't want to go too fast before she's ready, but you also don't want to wait too long and be going after she's gotten to the point where she's frustrated because she thought you were going to get her out of there sooner and you still haven't done it and she's just been sitting there waiting and nothing happened. So get her out of there relatively quickly, just not too quickly. And finally, whether you invite her to another venue or you just go for a walk with her, at some point you want to invite her home. And sometimes you can invite her home straight from the first place that you meet her at. Just depends on what the vibe is, whether you feel like you need the bounce or not. In this case, I don't know, he probably could have skipped the bounce and just taken this girl home, but he was inexperienced, so I wanted to have a little bit of a transition where we could strategize a little bit more before I set him loose with her. But you got to invite the girl home. How can you pick her up if you don't invite her home? This is a mistake that I made as a beginner. I used to go out and I'd talk to all these girls and get them really worked up, and then I'd be like, okay, well, it looks like it's time for me to go, and I'd get out of there. I finally had some girl text me and say, hey, can I come home with you? Because after you left, all these other guys descended on me, and I don't really like these guys that much. And that was the point where I realized, I guess I should be inviting girls home a little bit more aggressively because girls are having to hit me up after I've left to beg me to come home with them. So, yeah, make sure that you're making that invitation. And remember to take the next step quiz below if you have any kind of girl that you want to make more progress with, or if you want more progress with girls in general. I'll ask you a few questions. I'll let you know my custom tailored recommendation to you on what you should be working on next, and we'll get you out of the loggerheads and making some movement again with that girl that you like or with girls in general. This is Chase Amante with the Girls Chase, wishing you many happy pickups with the women you go out. This is Chase Amante with Girls Chase, wishing you many happy pickups when you go out.